Hey, what's up guys? Young Karth here coming at you with a follow-up video finally for the how to hit more Qs on Karthus video. I just want to start out by saying thank you guys so much for all your support on that video. It was an absolutely insane, over 109 likes, tons of comments, and almost 75 new subscriptions from the video. So just thank you guys so much for that. Now, if you're on this video, which is how to CS better on Karthus, and you haven't yet watched that video, go and click on my channel, and it's one of the most recently ones posted there. Go ahead and give that a look, and then come back here, and then watch this one as the follow-up. Thank you guys so much for that. Now, I do want to say sorry for the large gap in between the last video, but if you know me, sometimes I do have some internet problems every now and then, so that was the case for this one. I'm very sorry for that, guys. However, I was able to get some extra internet so that whenever I do run out, that should be covered now, so there shouldn't be any more problems with that. And we're back now, guys. Video, as promised, is going to be today. This is Monday. The video should be up here on Monday. And I do have a little surprise for you since you waited so long. We got a second video coming out this week, probably either Thursday, Friday, Saturday, somewhere around in that time vicinity, guys. And we do have a special guest that's going to be appearing in the video, and we're going to be answering some questions about your beloved Karthus for you. So make sure to stay tuned for that. I'm not going to give any more information about it for now, but yep. And just as a reminder, guys, I do have one more announcement. If you're not wanting to hear that and you want to get straight to the video, I got timestamps below. You can always skip my intro here, but I just use this to kind of talk to you guys about what's been going on. So, huge announcement, guys. So if you haven't heard of it already, Kick.com is a brand new streaming website that kind of caters to small content creators to medium content creators and gives them a lot more discoverability and a 95 to 5% split on revenue on subs. Now, to get that 95 to 5 split, I need 75 followers on Kick.com. I'm going to put the link above and below so you can click it in the comment section, and pretty much 75 followers unlocks my sub button for me and allows me to start getting subs. I think I'm at 41 as of making this right now. You guys would help me a lot. If you don't have an account, it takes 5 minutes to set up and click that follow button. I would really appreciate it, guys. And if you already do have an account, super easy. Just hit that follow for me. I'm going to be streaming there. Now, I'm not making the complete swap from Twitch to Kick. However, I'm doing heavy testing on Kick right now, and actually when I'm streaming the league, I'm averaging about 15 viewers, which is quite a nice increase from Twitch. So there's no set schedule at the moment, and it's not a complete switch, but we'll be doing heavy testing, guys. Now, without further ado, I want to go ahead and jump right into today's video. Thank you guys so much. All right. Relax, class. Calm down. Let's get into the lesson plan for today, okay? All right, so Professor Karth here, as per usual. And if you didn't get my introduction last time, here's a little bit of my credentials. I'm a Grandmaster Peak Karthus ADC main from the NA server, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to CS better and make the correct macro decisions to do so on Karthus bot lane. So without further ado, number one, guys, is going to be isolated Qs plus early game. Now, this particular tip here for experienced Karthus players, if you're super experienced, you can probably skip this. And if you're a newer Karthus player, or if you're in general low elo Karthus player, then this is probably going to be new and helpful information to you. So, with the isolated Qs, guys, in the early game, I'm sure that you already know this, but if you main Karthus, if you hit a Q on a single target, it does more damage. So, you want to do that early game to be last hitting your CS. And you want to conserve as much mana as possible before your first back, because I'm sure, as you know, Karthus in the early game can be kind of a mana-heavy champion, especially trying to trade with your opponent and also manage CSing at the same time. So with that being said, before you go back and get that lost chapter, which allows you to inherently play much more aggressive, what you're going to have to do is make sure you're using your isolated Qs on the sides of the minions. And that can be kind of hard when the minions are grouped together, so it's something that you're just going to have to practice. So hitting the sides of the minions, last hitting things, and also managing your trading. So, something that can help with that, again, if you're new to Karthus you might not know, is you are going to get refunds on your mana. Yep, you heard me correctly, mana refunded. So this is actually a passive on your E ability on Karthus. And so level 1 you will notice you're not getting any mana refunded on your Qs. So you want to make sure you go E second end lane, of course, so you can unlock this ability for yourself. And every time you kill a minion, you're going to get a little percentage of mana back. And that really helps you conserve the mana, and it allows you to throw out some more Qs to attempt to trade. You can miss them, but you can also end up recuperating that back over time. Now, something cool that probably some of you don't know is you would think that because the mana refund is on your E, you would think you would have to kill the minions with your E. Well, that's actually not true. So the Q ability is going to help you refund mana, and something really cool, your auto attacks, even last hitting with an auto attack, is also going to get you that mana back. And as far as the early game goes on Karthus, overall, it's pretty solid, and getting minions can be a little bit difficult. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later into the video on the extra tips and tricks on how to CS better under tower on Karthus in lane. But for the most part, early game, you want to play for that lost chapter, you want to play for your first item, you want to play to get as many minions as possible as you can. Now the reason that you don't want to not trade back and stuff like that, guys, is because for a newer Karthus player, CSing under tower is going to definitely be the hardest part. I see a lot of students that I have tell me that the reason that they do not like playing Karthus bot lane is because they just get so far behind on CS early. And so it really depends on what kind of lane you're playing. Some lanes, let's say you're playing against Caitlyn Morgana, for example, you're literally just going to get pushed in, and there's nothing you can do. So that's when, if you don't have the skill of last hitting under tower, then you're going to fall behind very quickly. But let's say you have like a Nautilus and you're playing against Jen and Nami, for example. So you have a lot of kill pressure in this lane if Nautilus lands a hook, so you'll probably be the one pushing them in. Okay? So pushing people in on Karthus after you get Lost Chapter is very simple. You're just pretty much going to go to the back 3 minions and queue them about 4 to 5 times with that Lost Chapter. You're going to get the refund on all of them when you kill them, pretty much using not that much mana, and you're just going to keep pushing them in over and over again. Use your isolated Qs on those front row minions or the cannon, and yeah, it's honestly a pretty quick push, and you can have a lot of prio for your jungler in those lanes. And this is obviously a more advanced tactic, I guess you could say, is obviously wave manipulation. Now that you can use this in hard lanes and easy lanes. If you're a beginner player, you'll probably just push every wave on a lane that you're winning. If you're an advanced player, you will let them push you in a lane that you're winning and then hold the wave there as a freeze. Using 4 minions normally is the best to do that. Hold the wave there to deny CS, and it's just complete free last hits for you as a player. It's a very strong tactic in low elo. If you're able to pull this off, you can definitely maintain probably a 30+ minion lead on your opponent, which on Karthus is massive. And on freezes, your support is even able to roam. And low elo they probably won't, but your support is able to roam and do stuff around the map. And the enemy support will probably follow. It'll be a one-on-one lane. You can kind of cop that freeze and really put some pressure on the enemy ADC to start doing something. Break it. If they try and walk up to break it, you just put the W down on their necks, and you just start hitting them with that isolation, baby. And if they don't, well, you're up 50 CS. Win-win. Alright, moving on to section number 2 here. This one will probably be the shortest out of all of them, but nonetheless it is important. So first item, power spike. Now, if you're a Karthus ADC player, you watch my video, you know that in 95% plus games, at least for me personally, Liandry's is going to be the decision. If you're interested in knowing the difference between Ludens and Liandry's, I do have a video on that. You can go back and watch on my channel. Anyway, Liandry's 95% of games is the best item because of the burn and the just massive power spike that it gives you. It's pretty much like you're going Super Saiyan on Karthus when you purchase this item. It's how strong it is and how much of an advantage it gives you with the burn from your E that it gives you, your ult finishing people, comparing the burn with your Dark Harvest stacks. It's just too good. Now, of course, this also allows Karthus to be a wave pushing machine. It doesn't matter what lane you're in. Obviously, when you first buy it, you're going to still be bot lane in most games. And this is when you can really crank up the pressure. If you can get this item pre-10 minutes by getting some kills and stuff as well, you can start putting immense pressure on the enemy bot lane. If you get this before they get an item as well, it's pretty much impossible for them to start 2v2ing you. And pretty much 3 Qs on the back line collapses it. 4 on the front line collapses it, depending on how fed that you are. And the cannon goes down in about the same. So pairing that with your E, actually, you just shove the waves in over and over again on the enemy laners, forcing them to farm under tower, giving you complete and utter pressure over early game Drakes. And if you really wanted to, on those big cannon waves, or if you do a slow push stack wave, you can just go ahead and start roaming mid as well. You pretty much have complete control over the lane, and it's won. Alright guys, moving on, we're going to get into the mid-game here. Now, as a little preface, I just want to say, obviously at this point, I'm going to need to be talking about macro decisions and where you need to be to optimize your CS per minute. Because there's not much more you can say about actually hitting the minion wave properly, because once you get Liandry's online plus any other items, you're pretty much just one-tapping the wave. Obviously, you're just going to be turning your E on and queuing the 3 backlines, then queuing the front lines after that. So there's not too much more we can talk about that. So now I'm going to be talking macro to maintain your high CS per minute. What do I consider high CS per minute on Karthus? Anything 7 and above is going to be perfect for you. So mid-game, guys, you've collapsed the enemy tower. You've won lane. Where do you want to go now? Well, me personally, I think that mid lane is the best area to be for Karthus. Now, before I talk about that, obviously you want to be where the action is. Karthus, if you think about him, he's a team fighting champion, but he does have a global ult. However, he's just inherently more useful if you're in a team fight and a group or a 2v2 or 3v3 scenario. So if a Rift Herald is up, you want to make sure that you're playing top or mid. If there's a Drake that's about to spawn, you want to make sure you're playing bot or mid. Now, in the intermittent period where you're waiting for an objective to spawn, you 100% want to be mid if possible. You want to put your mid laner top or bot, and I even like to send my support to hover jungle or the mid laner. Now, the reason this is, obviously Karthus, massive scaling champion. Levels on Karthus are huge. Items on Karthus are huge. If you're able to get mid-game solo XP, you can really become a monster on Karthus quickly. So for instance, wherever you are, the enemy lane that you played against, the ADC and support, are more than likely going to be following you. So if you're mid, it's going to be like the Nami gen enemy versus you. And if you're just sitting there solo, they can just push waves into you mid, collect it, push wave in you mid, collect it, push wave in you mid, collect it. and then you're just able to fight Drake or fight Rift, and you're pretty much a guaranteed level to a level and a half, or if you just collapse them and land 2 levels up on your enemy opponent, and probably an item as well. They will probably have close to the CS that you have if you're just letting them push you in like that. However, you're going to have those levels and the item advantage, so in the end, it's not really going to matter. So that's the strategy I like to do for mid game. I like having waves pushed into me. I like trying to stay around where the objective is spawning, and if nothing is spawning, I like to be mid collecting that solo XP. Alright, and finally, the last point that I have for you before we get to those extra tidbits and tricks, we've got late game macro for Karthus. So, if needed, Karthus can actually be a decent splitter and side laner because he has 1v1 potential. If you listen to me and you go that hourglass build and you have that exhaust, you really do have a lot of 1v1 potential. Obviously not if the enemy has a fed bruiser or something. You have to keep in mind as well, guys, these macro tips, they're all game dependent, right? I'm giving you the basics here. I'm giving you the basics information. So obviously you're not going to be split in Karthus if the enemy has a 9 and 1 Fiora with 10 CS per minute. You're going to get just obliterated and annihilated, and the game's going to be over, right? So you can't do that. Now, if everyone is pretty much even and they have to send like a Rise that's like 2 and 5 against you in the side lane late game, or the enemy ADC or the enemy support, then it's really nice for you to side lane on Karthus because 1, they can't kill you, 2, you're shoving the wave over and over again, and 3, you have a global ult presence. And low-key late game, your auto attacks be kind of slanging those towers, to be completely honest. Now, 90% of the time, however, late game Karthus, you want to be grouped with your team. That is a very rare 10% chance that you would need to side lane, and it's pretty much only if your team can easily win the fight without you there, and you can just ult to pick up free kills. So 90% of the time you want to group with your team late game. Now this is the time where you can start worrying a little bit less about the CS per minute, unless you just want to ego your enemy laner and get that 9, 10, 11 CS per minute. Like I said, averaging about 7.5 CS per minute on Karthus is going to be exactly where you want to be. And here's another thing, guys. You want to keep this in mind. This is extra info about this late game here. High CS per minute, as I've stated before on Karthus, is not necessarily needed, right? You can quite literally, in super low elos at the very baseline mechanics of Karthus, get away with winning games where you have 4, 5, or 6 CS per minute. It's just because Karthus is super useful as a champ always, because he has high damage output, and his passive, he's able to hit after death, so even with poor positioning, you're able to really get in there and do a lot of damage. This video about the CS per minute and the macro is if you're wanting to take your gameplay to the next level. So I'd say in the plat to diamond range, if you really want to take your gameplay up a notch, you need to focus on your CS per minute heavily early game, and then mid game, and late game is when you can just start grouping when you have about 5 items, 5 to 6 items. All you want to be thinking about: splitting, macro decisions, barons, final drakes, towers, and obviously ending the game and hitting their nexus. Alright guys, that's it for the main information. I do have a little segment here at the end as promised in the early game talking about CSing under tower on screen. I'll just kind of play this clip over and over again. I might have a secondary clip to play. It's just an example. Now, once you get this down, it'll be pretty much impossible for you to go down more than 10-ish CS bot lane. And if you're making the enemy miss CS and zoning them, if you're very well versed at CSing at a tower, you're the one who's going to be up around 30 to 40 CS and the end. Now, as the wave is coming over, you just have to keep in mind that melees are going to be taking 3 tower shots to be completely dead. Casters are going to be taking 2 shots to be completely dead, and cannons are going to be taking 8 shots to be completely dead. Now, with that being said, something very cool about Karthus. With casters, normally, as an ADC, you're not able to completely kill them early game without getting a little extra auto attack in on them first. With Karthus, because of the isolated, now you need to make sure it's an isolated Q. If you hit it on that caster after it takes 1 tower shot, you're just going to be completely killing it there, which is very cool. Now, a lot of supports aren't going to know this, and as you get into higher elos, people are going to try and hit it for you and auto attack it. You can go ahead and ping them off, or you can tell them to not do that because you're going to end up missing minions. Got to make sure it's an isolated Q, and if you use that properly with your auto attacks and your E to kind of bust some minions down to the correct HPs, farming under tower as Karthus is actually quite easy, and once you get used to it, you're going to be able to skyrocket your CS per minute with just that alone. And guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I really hope I've given you some interesting information that maybe you haven't heard before. The early game information was pretty much specifically for Karthus, and the mid game and late game information was a lot of macro knowledge that you can apply to your own games, not only on Karthus, but of course it will also work for Karthus, and make sure you do practice CSing under tower. There's going to be another video out, guys, later in the week with a special Challenger Karthus guest. I don't know who it's going to be, but you will find out. Make sure you tune in for that, guys. And also, one more reminder, if you don't have a kick.com account and you want to watch Young Karth live play some League of Legends, make sure you take the 5 minutes to make the account, drop me a follow, and get me to 75 followers as soon as possible, guys. I want to unlock that sub button. I'm going to do a special 10-hour stream. For every sub I get, I'm going to extend the stream by 20 minutes. It's going to be really fun. Hopefully I can see some of you guys from YouTube there on stream, and if you are from YouTube, let me know in the chat. See you guys on the next one. Young Karth out. Peace.